3 minutes in. All right.
Cool.
All right. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Ark Theory Podcast. I'm Jeremiah. This is my beautiful wife, Danielle, and we are your hosts. Just want to start off by saying thank you for being here and for listening. We have made it to episode 3, and there's no going back now. We're rip-roaring and ready to go and excited for this podcast and this season and this new year that we're stepping into. And so, before we fully start the episode, I did just want to say, if you're finding us from social media and you're expecting this to be a podcast that has anything to do with textured art, I just want to let you know this has nothing to do with textured art. And
I'm gonna be wildly disappointed.
Or not, dude. You don't know, because
we're pleasantly surprised.
Put that on a t-shirt. You might be wildly disappointed or pleasantly surprised. Somebody make it, put our logo on it, call me. But that is a very accurate representation of this podcast as a whole. But anyways, if you followed our business for any length of time through social media, we post a lot of textured art content. We are artists. We do a lot on the social media space. This is kind of our transition period. Thank you for this business, and this podcast is something that we've wanted to do for a long time.
No, it has not.
Okay. This podcast is something that we've felt we were supposed to do for a long time and have avoided it completely because it's definitely out of both of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And something that we've been very hesitant to do because everybody and their mom has a podcast. And so we're doing it out of obedience, and honestly, I am excited about it, though. I am excited to do this with you. I'm excited to be able to document this part of our life and this part of our business. I'm excited that our kids are going to get to watch these episodes one day and see that mom and dad were lunatics drinking coffee at 10 p.m. Living it up. But
I know. Yeah, it is 10 p.m. and this is it. Dude, I don't really know.
But
wait, try it.
Oh. Dude, how annoying is it to slurp coffee on a microphone?
I did it so quiet.
No, not you. I'm just saying in general. But anyways, yes. So our goal for this podcast was kind of just to build a community. And I feel like there is a lot of like-minded people out there that are trying to do what they feel like God has called them to, don't really have a space to be able to speak about those things. And so I know when we first started our business, we felt like we were kind of the only ones out here doing this. And so we've always kind of wanted that community, wanted somebody to be able to like talk to and share ideas with.
and like struggle with, like, and kind of like normalize the struggle of like how hard it is to like step out on faith and like do something that you feel like you're truly called to do, but don't feel like equipped to do and don't even know where to start. And I feel like we just wanted to create a community of people that are like in that space to help like build each other up and like encourage each other to just like keep going. And like, it's, I think, I don't know. That's kind of what our goal always was. Even in the beginning of Ark Theory, that's kind of like the whole idea behind the Ark Theory. To pursue the call that God has placed on your heart. And I think that this podcast could be like a vessel for us being able to create that community of like Ark builders. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, the Ark is basically the same thing as your calling.
Yeah.
And so as an Ark builder, we would consider ourselves Ark builders. Anybody who's really out there trying to do something that they feel like God has called them to do, essentially to build their Ark. And so your Ark doesn't have to look like ours. It's hopefully going to look a lot different. But I think that because you've been given that gift, that the world needs it, and the impact that it can have can be incredible. And so we want to just be a help and an encouragement to encourage people, to let them know that it's possible and it doesn't have to look pretty and it's not always going to be easy, but it is worth it. And I'm the luckiest man on earth because I get to do it with my wife. But if you're
I paid him $20 to say that.
And we bought coffee, so
but I'm excited. It's going to be cool. And what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we should probably address the title of this episode about us quitting social media. All right, so we have a little visitor here because, like we said, it's 10 o'clock at night, and our son woke up and wanted to join the episode, and so we brought him in.
Yeah. But yeah, so the title, we are quitting social media for 21 days. Yeah, so we wanted to start off this year just more of like a clear mind and like better vision for this year, and just like to be like prayerful about this season we're about to step into, because we know this year is going to look drastically different than the way the last 2 years of Ark Theory has looked.
Definitely.
The last 2 years have been heavily textured art, heavily well, just like art in general, I guess, but like business, teaching, the tricks of the trade and all of that. And we kind of just feel all last year just kind of like felt a redirection, that like to go back to the original purpose of what Ark Theory was started for, which was like to create that community. And so, yeah, we know that this year is going to be a lot more of that. And so we kind of just wanted to start off on the right foot with a clear mind, sharper, and
really just kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what we want to do this year was things that we were kind of avoiding last year.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason of that was we were just so busy doing the work that we were doing then within this textured art space, and we were kind of had a lot going on, and it just, when you run a business full time, it's hard to kind of carve out specific time to just say like, okay, like this is how the shift is going to go. And so I feel like a lot of those things kind of just got let go. And so I think a big thing for this year is we don't want to keep just running on that same treadmill. We want to actually start doing the thing that we feel like we're supposed to be doing in this season. And so a lot of what that is going to look like during this time of this fasting break of social media is to be very intentional with this time. So it's not a matter of just being lazy and taking a 3-week vacation. It's a matter of being very intentional, of getting new visions, new goals, really starting to write down what we want from our business, what to do in our business, the things that we want to accomplish this year. A big thing on that list was the podcast. And getting that off the ground and starting to promote that, and really just figuring out how we want to do that. And I think it's been just, it's a necessary time for us to be able to kind of do a little bit of a reset. Because so much of our business was textured art and so many people knew us by textured art. So it was very hard to look at that and say, okay, let's pause and do something else. It just didn't really seem like it would make sense.
And I think also like it was really scary to think about doing something else, because it's like this is what was working for our business. And so when we kind of felt like the Lord like redirecting, we're like, wait, this is what works. I want to stay here. And so I feel like we kind of like held out as long as possible. And like this year, it's like we don't want to operate out of fear of what change can bring. And I think that we just we want to fully surrender this business to the Lord. And I think kind of just taking that break was like the final surrender, that it's like, this business is yours, Lord. And even though social media is like a big part of our job, like we're still working, we're still making pieces, we're still doing stuff on the website, we're still working. And so like it's just the social media part, because that part has just become such like almost like a distraction. And too hard for us to be able to like continue doing all the things that we were doing, and then also try and like implement new stuff. And so like we've thought about taking a social media break for like a while, but every time that we would think about it, we'd be like, no, like we can't do that. That's part of our job. Like that's just like not the type of field that we're in. And it's like, so when we were praying about what we should be fasting about this year, we originally thought like, okay, like probably food, or I don't know, whatever else people fast from. Like, I don't know.
Coffee.
Okay. I thought about fasting from coffee and no.
The
Okay.
Lord didn't tell us. So
Yeah. No, there was no conviction there. No, honestly, like I feel like with that, it's just like I wanted something that was actually going to be a challenge. Like I wanted something that was going to like really feel like it's I want to feel that absence from my life. So that way I could like fill that absence with like something good. And like with coffee, yeah, I would definitely feel the absence, but like there is just like so many repercussions with giving up coffee and
For the sake of our marriage, I'm glad that you didn't.
yeah, no. But do you remember when we first started dating? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So when we first started dating, she at the time was going to an Orthodox church and they were doing, it was for Lent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was 40 days. And so her and her family always fasted from meat. And I wanted to be a part of the fast. I was really trying to impress her when we first started dating. And so I was like, oh, I'll do something. And she was like, oh, you don't have to do food. And I'm a diabetic, so I can't exactly fast from food because I will die. And, trust God, but I don't want to die. And so I was like, oh, okay. So like the first thing that came to mind for me was coffee.
Yeah.
And
which was literally psycho. That's so crazy. Like,
yeah, looking back, I still don't know how I did it. I think I just really liked you and wanted you to think that I was serious.
You were that. Yeah. If anything proved it to me, it was that. But you literally had like migraines and everything. And it was just like so crazy. And at the time, like I didn't really drink coffee. And so I didn't really get like why it was that big of a deal. But yeah, no, that was crazy.
I mean, we were young too. So like at the time, like I didn't even really understand like the point or the purpose of like why we were doing it.
Yeah.
So much of that was just like, oh, like God just wants you to be miserable all the time. Like that's the point of like, that's why you fast. So God can make you miserable.
Yeah.
You're like, there's got to be more to it than this.
Okay, so I feel like the thing with fasting, like my mindset before was like, I just need to get through it and like not eat meat for 40 days, like whatever. It's not a big deal. On the 41st day, like I'm going to have meat and I'm going to go back to my normal life. Like who cares? And so it was so much of like that diet mentality. And I wasn't like implementing anything good when I was like not having meat. It's like I was just dieting, whatever. And I feel like the thing with this fast, and this is like the first fast that I've done since then, and that I was like a teenager. And with this, it's like I feel like we're really trying to like implement like good habits so that when we come out of this, there's going to be a change. And it's not just like, oh, well, that was cool for like the couple weeks and then life goes back to normal. And
then, our business looks exactly like it did prior.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest dangers of having a diet mentality when it comes to fasting is because your body is used to doing things a certain way. And so when you starve your body from something like meat or from social media or from whatever it is, I know a lot of people are doing sugar right now. That seems like a big one for this new year. But I think the problem with that is if you're not replacing the thing that you're fasting from with something else, your body is going to still be feeling that lack. And so it goes into this like starvation mode. And then when the fast is over, you end up binging whatever it was you were just breaking from because there was nothing to fill that back up. And so I think, like you said, a big thing that we're trying to do right now is like, yes, we're taking a break from the social media aspect, but we're doing our best to be very intentional with this time of praying and seeking and being in the word and trying to figure out what it is we're supposed to be doing, what God is trying to say to us in this time. And really, like you said, cut out the noise because the social media space is so noisy and it can be so consuming and it can be so easy to fall into comparison and to fall into trying to be like somebody else and seeing other businesses succeed and just wanting to feel and be like a part of that. And I think that with this, it is a very intentional time for us to kind of just take a break, to be able to step away from that and come at it at a different angle, renewed and refreshed, and
just like out of a place of rest. I don't feel like we've ever really rested. Like, I don't really think that we know how to rest.
For sure.
Yeah. No, I just feel like we're the go, go, go type of people. And like once we have an idea, like we do it and like we don't stop until it happens. And it's like we're always thinking about like the next idea. We're always doing something. And it's like even when we're like resting, like we never really stop. And like that just doesn't allow you to operate out of just a place of like peace, I feel like. And so I think one of the things that we are really trying to learn during this time is like how to just rest in the Lord. How like to learn what that means. And so
yeah, being okay with the silence.
Yeah, that's been
like
so weird.
One of the biggest things now is typically when you're bored, when you're sitting, when you're not doing anything, the first thing, it's like a reaction, like a drug addict, is to grab your phone. It's like you go anywhere. I go to the bathroom and I'm like, oh, I like what I just stared and read my contact list, like something like a crazy person.
Yeah.
But I think it's been like part of like, especially in these first couple of days, has been such this like detox period of kind of just flushing out those habits and allowing you to be okay just being still. And I think that that's like another part of that social media, that it is such that hustle culture and that hustle mentality and that go, go, go. And then if you're not posting 75 times a day, then you're not succeeding as a business, and
you have to be productive.
Your people are going to unfollow you, and you start to just like, it literally starts to just like run your life.
Right.
And so I think with this, it's like we really want to be able to get away from that idea and know that we don't work for the algorithm, you know, and the Lord doesn't need the algorithm to do his work through our business.
Yeah.
And so we have to be okay knowing that, okay, we're going to slow down a little bit. Yes, we might take a hit on our analytics for a little bit, but it's worthwhile to do that because we're coming at it from a place of rest, and we're coming at it from a new perspective that we wouldn't have had without it.
And I feel like one thing that I have to keep reminding myself too is that like our God is so much greater than like anything that we've built ourselves, or like even if we do come back and it's like, lost a lot of people and the analytics are like all messed up and whatever, all of that. It's like, okay, but it can never get so bad to the point that like our God can't fix it, you know? And at the end of the day, like we're trying to spread a message, and that message is going to get spread to whoever the Lord wants it to get to. And he doesn't need like the algorithm to find those people. Those people are going to find it, even if it's just like 5 people or whatever it is. And so just like reminding myself like that, like not to be so, like what's the word? Just like under the thumb of like social media, you know? And like just having like healthy boundaries going back into it, because it's been so hard to try and like balance that as like a business owner who works heavily like on social media, but then like also you kind of go on social media for like to pass time and whatever. And then it's like, I don't know, just kind of thinking about like even with like the kids, like with Ezra, she doesn't know if we're on our phone because we're working or because we're just scrolling, you know? And that I feel like has been the biggest conviction for me, where it's just like, I don't want her to see her parents on their phone all the time, even if it is like we're working. I don't want to be working all the time. And like, I want her to have parents that like have healthy boundaries with that, to set an example for her. And because I think it's going to be an even bigger struggle for her growing up in that like next generation and stuff, where being on your phone, being like on social media, all of that is just going to be even more of a norm. And so
I don't ever want her to think that she has to compete with my phone for my attention. And I think that's a very convicting thing as a parent, especially in the social media world, and especially when you do work from home. Because everything is digital now. And so if she sees a phone, a lot of times she'll even ask, like, Dad, are you working? And if I'm not, I'm literally just doing something like to pass time. It does. It's like such a gut punch.
Yeah, it really is. And so, just like going back into it, just like with a clear perspective of like how we're supposed to be using social media in a healthy way and in a God glorifying way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm excited for like this next like these next couple of weeks to like kind of see all that the Lord is going to do during that time. And I think like he definitely is going to continue to show up, especially because like we're going into it with like expectancy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like we're just like quitting social media for a couple of weeks and then like expecting the Lord to do this great work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I think we are being intentional. And that's the first time that I'm like being intentional during a fast. So I'm expectant. I think like we're gonna get some really good things out of it, and I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm excited for what's to come after the fast too.
Yeah.
And just getting back into that space from a different place.
Yeah.
Because I do think that a lot of this year is going to be doing a lot of the things that we've been talking about for a long time, but actually putting them into action.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I feel like that's kind of all like that's the biggest things that I feel like we want to talk about when it comes to fast. I don't know. How are you like feeling so far?
I feel like it's still early.
Yeah.
But I still like I said, I feel like a lot of this feels like it's just kind of shedding off some of those initial like reactionary feelings towards social media. But I have been excited about how much more my brain I feel like has been focused on ideas and being creative and having new like goals. And it kind of has been eye-opening how distracting social media is, because no one wants to admit that they have a problem with social media. But at the same time, it's like the time that I would have normally been sitting and scrolling and justifying that my day's over and I worked all day and I'm tired and I can just sit here and numb. Now looking back to that and being like, oh, I can actually read, I can do something productive, I can do something like more intentional. I can just think about ideas. And it's been nice to kind of just be in that space of creativity, because I feel like so much we were working for social media. That's what it felt like. This is what the audience wants. This is what the people that follow us came for. This is what works. This is the blueprint. This is how you do everything. So let's just follow that system to a T. No days off, no breaks, whatever, and just run with it. And it was so exhausting. But it was so hard to let go, because you get so attached to the growth and wanting to see things succeed and wanting to continue to have your business thrive. And so the idea of taking any like steps away from that seems so counterproductive. But I think so much of this fast has been realizing that when you're trying your best to operate from the Lord's perspective, his kingdom is upside down and it's backwards. And so his way of doing things is going to be so much different than the way the world is trying to tell you that it's supposed to be. And so I think it's kind of like this fast is like, it's the Sabbath idea. It's the day of rest. The ability to be able to work for 6 days and then rest and be able to come back stronger and more productive and more clear-headed. And so that's what I'm excited for.
And I think kind of just like for me, like redefining what productivity is. I think like you kind of like touched on that, but it's like spending time with the Lord is like the most productive thing that you could be doing, even though it might not feel like it in the moment, but like the fruits of that completely surpass like any of the productive things that I could be doing like to further my business or whatever. And I feel like one thing, if I'm being honest, is like I was like really nervous to do this like social media fast, because I didn't want to like realize how much time I'm wasting on it not actually like working. I didn't want to come to terms with that.
It kind of starts to compound like over time, like how much time you really take away from it. Because it doesn't seem like, it's not like there's like these 2-hour blocks that you're like sitting and scrolling on social media, but it is. It's like you start your morning and it's like, okay, 5 minutes while I like sip my coffee, and it's like 10 minutes here while I'm sitting around, and then before bed, and then this, and it's like before you know it, you look at your phone, you're like, I've been on Instagram for like an hour and a half today. If I were to take an hour and a half and multiply that by 365 days, like imagine what you could do with that extra time. And I think it's just so easy to justify those things and say like, well, I'm tired. I don't want to like, and it's not so much that like using that time to be like working and to be back in that like hustle mentality, but it's just like to like let your thoughts wander and see where they go. I feel like that's honestly like one of the scariest things, because it's so easy to like, I don't want to think about being stressed out. I don't want to think about like the business. I don't want to think about whatever it is that might like stress you out, like parenting your kids, your job, your whatever it is, you know, a test that you have coming up. So it's, let me just numb whatever that feeling is. Let me distract myself, because then I don't have to think about it. And then when the day comes, I can handle it then. But I think it's allowed us to be able to kind of process our thoughts and to really get our thoughts out and to be able to communicate better with each other and not sit next to each other while we both scroll on our phones individually.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, how many times have like we been like prompted or like thought about somebody, and then that was kind of like maybe a little nudge that like, oh, like be praying for this person. And like how many times could we have like interceded for people where it's like, oh, that person like popped into your head. Anyways, like you keep scrolling. And like just to just sit in that space of like quiet and like allow yourself to just like think your thoughts. We have been trained so much to just have like such a short attention span and like just to live in such a distracted way. And like, yeah, it's been like really, really nice just like cutting out the noise.
We're excited to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to do another episode about kind of what we got out of the fast and how that went, and hopefully have some new and exciting things to talk about for the business and where we think we're headed. But yeah, I would say if there's anything you guys have been doing to implement into your life at the start of this year, whether that be goals or systems or things that you've been trying to stick to, we'd love to hear about them. We'd love to be able to talk about whatever that is. Or if you have any experience with fasting and you want to share a story, something that might be encouraging as we go on this. And leave it in the comments. Let us know. And
we'll catch you for the next one.
See you.